I'm Joule, and I'm so happy to see you all today. Thank you for coming down to the Open Center to share with me tonight. Raise your hand if this is your first time at the Open Center. Oh, a couple new folks. Welcome. This is the Open Center. Happy to have you. So I've been on staff here at the Open Center since 2012, and it's a wonderful center of holistic learning. It's been here for over 30 years. And the class I'll be teaching starting next week will actually be in the other room, in the grand room, which is a carpeted room, and it has beautiful acoustics. This room is lovely as well. This is the studio, and more movement type classes take place in here. So I also want to see a show of hands. Who has some experience with sound as a healing modality? Raise your hand. Great. Here I'm out of people's room. And for whom is that like a brand new concept that you've never really experienced anything like that before? Okay, great. And so what brought you here today? Was it curiosity? Yeah. Curious? Yeah. Great. And what about you folks over there? Yeah.
Can use some healing.
Sorry?
Can use some healing.
You can use some healing. I think we all can use some healing right now, huh? Raise your hand if you can use some healing. Yeah. Me too. That's why I do this work, because I find that it's the most powerful healing work that there is, and that I need this work. And there's no better way than to receive the work and to share the work. So, a little bit about me. I'm a trained singer. I'm a classically trained singer, as well as I have a theater degree. I have a diploma in audio engineering. I'm also a Reiki master, and I've studied at many different sound healing schools. I'm also a graduate of the sound and music practitioner training. And so we have another graduate. Yay! So, I've done a lot of different kinds of sound healing training, as well as classical music training and audio engineering, studying the physics of sound. And I have a simple message tonight that if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember this, and that is that your voice is the most healing instrument of sound, the most healing sound instrument for your body. So I'll say that again. Your voice is the most healing instrument for your body. Now I have a lot of beautiful, some of them are very expensive instruments up here, and I love instruments. I'm an instrument collector. So it's not saying anything against all these lovely instruments, but I want to empower you to know that you have this instrument within, and that without spending any money, you can go home tonight and you can start to use this instrument. So first, a little bit about me, though. I grew up in California, and I grew up in Malibu, over this cliff over the Pacific Coast Highway, and it was a fixer-upper kind of a house, and it was wild land. There were coyotes, and there were rattlesnakes, and there were brush fires frequently, and there were mudslides, and there were earthquakes, and I felt like the land there was like the mythical creature of the phoenix, that it just wanted to burn itself up every few years to replenish. So there was this wildness, and I remember as a little kid just looking out at the expanse of the ocean and hearing the wind and playing with the plants and the trees, and I would just sing and I would sound with all of the elements, just totally free. And before I even learned to talk, I just had this instinct that sound moved through me, and I was one with sound, and I could just endlessly create, and I could use sound to make myself feel better, and the sound was my friend, and the sound was my teacher. And then at some point, and I don't remember particularly when, it was probably after I learned how to talk, that I started to develop a little bit of fear around sound. And it wasn't ever fear with the elements, because the ocean and the wind and the flowers, I had no fear with them. But I developed a fear about sharing my sound with other humans, because I started to just discern that maybe that wasn't such a safe thing to do. That humans have judgments, and they have expectations, and that they could be a little bit cruel. And so at a very young age, my mother would ask me to sing in front of people, and I would say no, and I would run and hide in my room, because there's just something that didn't feel safe about that. And then I remember being being a little bit older and being in elementary school and being asked to sing a solo at a school sing-along. And it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I loved Judy Garland, and I loved the MGM musicals, so of course I knew Over the Rainbow. So I stood up and I sang that song with all the joy in my heart that I feel about that song. And after that, all of the other children started to mercilessly make fun of me and say horrible things, like, who do you think you are? And you're ugly, and you're stupid. I mean, all of the horrible things were lumped into that sharing of my sound, which I couldn't really understand at the time, but the other children were envious that I had this ability to share with the sound, and so they wanted to shame me for that. And so I felt this great sense of shame about sharing my sound and about sounding out in the world. And what was curious is that along the path of life, I've also encountered other little children who were shamed for the exact opposite reasons. They were the ones who were told to mouth the words to happy birthday, to stand in the back of the choir, please don't sing, shut up, your voice isn't pleasing. And so they experienced also this shame about their voices, even though it was different from my shame, but the shame inside was the same. It was the same feeling, it was the same disempowerment. And it was the same loss of this natural gift that had just brought me joy. So, I sort of worked through it, and I did my theater training and my music training, and I got my degrees, and started in the professional world. But there was always something where I felt like there was a disconnect, especially here in New York, in the professional world, that sound and music became like a competition. It is a competitive sport. You're just training and training and training to get to the prize, which is that job. And so that connection to sound as healing and as transformational, I still felt I was searching for that, even though I didn't even know that I was searching for that. So then I went back to grad school, and an interesting thing happened. I was given my own classroom. Hi, welcome. I was given my own classroom for two different classes. One was a class of singing majors, undergraduates, who I was teaching acting interpretation to. And the other class was a class of writers and musicians and artists who wanted to sing. And I found that with both groups of people, there was the similarity in that both groups of people felt disempowered. They felt they were not in their bodies, they were disconnected from their self-expression, they longed to express themselves, and they were also stressed out, and they had the shame thing going. There were all these things, and so I started to experiment with these students and find little methods and little tricks that would allow them to come back to that place that I had found as a little kid. That pure, unbridled joy, creativity, self-expression, empowerment, and this ability to self-heal. And I didn't really know it at the time, but I was actually leading myself back to that place. And through this process, I uncovered a method. And this method I call the sounding circles method. And it's a simple little method, but it's actually very, very profound and very powerful, and I've now been practicing that method for the last 10 years. And I don't want to say that I am the creator of it, because I don't really feel that way. I feel like it was a download, and that it was given to me, and that I'm a steward for this method. And that it was just revealed to me in stages. And so that's the method that I use for my healing with sound class. And then in the meantime, after I had been given this download of this method, I wanted to understand it. How does it work, and how does sound heal, and what's going on in the body? So that's when I started doing a lot of my healing training, just so that I could start to explain what is the phenomenon that's occurring when we're in this group having this experience.